The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
Every sanctuary city is unsafe. I'll say it again, sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals.
A Border Patrol agent shot in the face over the weekend. What the administration says they will do now to keep all of our streets safe from criminal aliens. Plus, Harvard versus Trump. The case for funding finally in court. What the administration says they'll do if the ruling doesn't go their way. And then
the president has said if the Department of Justice and the FBI want to move forward with releasing any further credible evidence, they should do so.
The Epstein files remain at the center of attention. How the lack of a credible list could lead to a locked up co-conspirator being called before Congress to clear the air. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Dee Dee Gatton. We are so glad you're here with us on your Monday, and we begin tonight in Klickitat County, Oregon, where go now evacuation orders remain in effect as the Bourdain fire continues to grow. 250 homes at this point remain under threat. 14 buildings have been destroyed and another 37 have been damaged since the fire broke out on Friday. This fire has burned over 10,000 acres. It is still not contained. The cause is under investigation. Meantime, in Arizona, fire crews continue to look for spot fires along the Grand Canyon's northern rim here amid gusty winds and hot, dry weather. Lightning sparked the fire on the 4th of July and spread quickly, destroying numerous historic cabins. Over 18 square miles have already been burned, and the Dragon Bravo fire is only about 8% contained. No injuries have been reported, thankfully, but this popular area is closed for the rest of the season. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs has called for an investigation to determine if there were missteps in the National Park Service's handling of the fire. 6 months into President Donald Trump's second term, and a renewed focus on sanctuary cities has emerged after an off-duty Border Patrol agent was shot in the face over the weekend in New York City. National correspondent Kelly Gaskins joins us from Washington with more on who the administration blames and what Democrats are saying about the continued violence against federal border agents.
A Border Patrol agent is recovering from a gunshot to the face after what appears to be a robbery gone wrong in New York City.
We have our hearts and our prayers going out with our officer and with his family and his friends.
DHS releasing this surveillance video of the incident. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the suspect, Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, is in the U.S. illegally. Records reportedly show he was apprehended and released at the southern border in 2023. DHS publishing Nunez's rap sheet that includes charges of felony grand larceny, second and third degree assault, criminal contempt, and another armed robbery with a firearm, that instance occurring in Massachusetts earlier this year. Nunez also failed to show up for an immigration hearing last November.
There's absolutely zero reason that someone who is scum of the earth like this should be running loose on the streets of New York City.
On Monday, DHS arresting the other individual involved, Christian Ibarbaroa, also here illegally, also with an extensive criminal history. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries had this to say Monday when asked about the New York City attack.
We have to make sure in this country that we secure the border, fix our broken immigration system in a bipartisan and comprehensive way, while at the same time standing up for dreamers, farm workers, and law-abiding immigrant families.
The House Committee on Homeland Security gave data showing as of July 2024, 650,000 migrants in the U.S. illegally have criminal records, 15,000 for murder and 20,000 for sexual assault.
Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals.
Border czar Tom Homan promising sanctuary cities are now ICE's top priority.
We're going to flood the zone. So sanctuary cities get exactly what they don't want, more agents in the community.
And ICE agents have faced an 830% increase in assaults over the past year.
Kayla, how is New York City leadership responding to the shooting of a Border Patrol agent?
Well, in a statement on X, Mayor Eric Adams said, quote, violence of this kind will never be tolerated in New York City, adding Nunez should never have been on our streets. Now, Adams was elected as a Democrat, but he's running again, this time as an independent. Zohran Mamdani was the winner of the Democratic primary for mayor, and he has yet to make a comment on the incident. Mamdani is also currently on vacation, and his campaign hasn't made a statement on his behalf either, but many are waiting because they want to hear how he's going to weigh in. He's currently the front runner in the race, and Mamdani has made previous calls to defund the police. He's also stated he's opposed to working with the Trump administration to deport illegal immigrants if he's elected mayor. Didi.
Live from Washington, D.C., Kayla Gaskins, thank you. Kilmar Abrego-Garcia will remain in a Tennessee jail for at least another 30 days as prosecution and defense attorneys agree to give Garcia time to consider his own options. The DOJ says they do plan to deport him to a third-party country if he is released before his trial. A judge ruled he should not be held in jail but has postponed his release as the lawyers argue his fate. Kilmar Abrego-Garcia is facing federal charges of human trafficking. He was mistakenly deported and held in El Salvador earlier this spring. A manhunt is on in Los Angeles for a person of interest following this weekend's crash when someone drove a car into a crowd outside a club at 2 a.m. on Saturday. But the search is not for the suspected driver. LAPD releasing these photos, you see them on your screen, of a suspected gunman who they say shot 29-year-old Fernando Ramirez in the back after Ramirez was pulled from the car that injured at least 37 people. Ramirez has been charged with assault with a deadly weapon and remains in the hospital in stable condition. He has an extensive criminal history. LAPD says he was kicked out of the club for fighting before the incident occurred. It's unknown if the gunman was in the club beforehand or just in the crowd outside.
It's very emotional. I was at the command post when we received notification that she was deceased. It was very difficult and emotional. At that point, though, the best we could do is provide some measure of justice to the family.
The father of a Canadian girl who was found dead in northern New York yesterday is in custody on charges including murder. A not guilty plea was entered on his behalf today. The National News Desk, Laura Jamet, brings us up to speed.
I'm Laura Jamet reporting from outside the Essex County Jail in Lewis, New York, where Luciano Fertolin spent the night in custody. He's the father of Melina Fertolin, who was found dead in Ticonderoga Sunday after an Amber Alert. Her father reported her missing Saturday night and told police she was abducted near Lake George. Police say there were inconsistencies in his account of events. Melina's body was found about 47 miles away from where she was said to be last seen, about a 45-minute drive. According to the website For Gambella Coffee, Luciano Fertolin is the founder and spends much of his time in Montreal. Fertolin is described as the son of an Ethiopian mother and Italian father, born in the remote Ethiopian village of Gambella, spending time at the family's coffee plantation there and in Milan. In a biography, Fertolin calls Melina the light of his life and inspiration for everything. Again, Melina was found dead Sunday afternoon in Ticonderoga, less than 24 hours after the Amber Alert was issued. Reporting in Essex County, I'm Laura Jamet.
No details on the cause of Melina's death were given. An autopsy is being conducted today and a hearing is scheduled for Friday. Richard Tillman, brother of Pat Tillman, has been taken into custody on suspicion of arson and is being held without bail. He was arrested yesterday after a vehicle crashed into a post office in San Jose, California. No injuries were reported. Pat Tillman was a former NFL player who resigned to join the U.S. Army Special Forces after 9/11. He was killed in action by friendly fire in Afghanistan in 2004. A judge is considering arguments she heard today in Harvard's suit against the Trump administration. Alumni, students, and staff rallied outside the courthouse. Listen.
This case is about academic freedom, a pillar of democracy, and universities governing themselves.
Harvard seeks a reversal of a federal funding freeze, arguing it's illegal and violates its freedom of speech. In April, the administration froze over $2 billion in grants when Harvard refused to make certain changes to address anti-Semitism. Harvard says it's working to combat anti-Semitism. President Trump vows to immediately appeal if he doesn't win. Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. will no longer provide gender transitioning medical treatments beginning August 30th. 30th. The website says the hospital will no longer prescribe, quote, gender-affirming medications due to legal and regulatory risks. It comes after the Justice Department sent over 20 subpoenas to doctors and clinics that have been involved with child transgender procedures. Crews in Oregon are searching for 2 people who went missing after they went over a waterfall with 4 other people on Saturday. This all according to police. Someone saw the group go over Dillon Falls and called 911. 1 person died and 3 people were rescued and hospitalized. Swift water rescue teams, drones, canine teams, and Marine Patrol boats have been helping in the search. Alaska Airlines operating again today after grounding flights for a few hours overnight. The company made the announcement late Sunday for both Alaska and Horizon Air flights. According to Alaska Airlines, this temporary measure was because of an IT outage. Residual impact continue to be felt all across the country, even with flight operations back to normal. Take a look at these numbers right here. Roughly 15% of all traffic into and out of the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport still disrupted today. Nationwide, U.S. airports had more than 4,600 delays and 200 cancellations throughout the day. Malcolm Jamal Warner, some sad news, who rose to fame in the 80s playing Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, has died, we have learned, of an accidental drowning in Costa Rica. Now, he was at the beach with his family just yesterday when the current sucked him into the water. Other acting credits include roles on Malcolm and Eddie and the reboot of The Wonder Years. Malcolm Jamal Warner was 54 years old. Coming up next here, documents released what the Trump administration says is in a new batch of files related to Martin Luther King Jr. Then, what we now know about a global Microsoft hack that's threatening tens of thousands of servers. Later, the cause that's motivating an Ohio woman to run 178 miles in just a few days. We'll have her story when we're back in 90 seconds. Six months into President Trump's second term, the administration is looking back to the first time he got elected. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard accuses former President Obama and other officials of treasonous conspiracy against Trump related to the 2016 Russia collusion claim. Gabbard says her office is giving evidence to the DOJ for criminal referrals. More documents are expected to come out in the coming days. More documents related to the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. are now available for the public to view online. Today, DNI Tulsi Gabbard announcing the administration released 230,000 pages with details about the FBI's investigation into the assassination. Agencies will publish any more files they find to the same page on archives.gov. Could Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator and former girlfriend testify to Congress? Some members on Capitol Hill who are calling for more transparency in the case of the disgraced financier and sex offender say they would like to hear from her. The National News Desk, Matt Gelka reports.
There's a new push for Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, to tell Congress what she knows about the sex offender's alleged ties to the world's most powerful. Maxwell is a co-conspirator in the Epstein sex trafficking case, and Epstein's former attorney says she should be given immunity to speak.
She knows everything. She is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. She arranged every single trip with everybody. She knows everything. And if she were just given use immunity, she could be compelled to testify.
Maxwell is appealing a 20-year prison sentence she received after being convicted of helping Epstein carry out sex trafficking. Tennessee Republican Tim Burchett says he's told the House Oversight Committee to question her after the appeal.
If we have to do it in a closed-door session, then I say let's do it. But I think we need to get her in front of the members and ask her what she knows.
The Justice Department has asked for Epstein grand jury testimony to be unsealed after days of being battered by influential Republican voices and numerous negative headlines for not being transparent enough about the Epstein case. The president referred to supposed Epstein files as a Democrat hoax as the administration tries to change the narrative and ask why Democrats care about the case now when Epstein died in 2019.
The Jeffrey Epstein files should be released. Congress needs to release them. Absolutely. Why do you think Biden didn't do it for 4 years?
Democrats say the fervor over the Epstein files is the Trump administration's own doing.
So the president blaming Democrats for this disaster, Jake, is like that CEO that got caught on camera blaming Coldplay, okay? Like, this is his making.
One of the president's most outspoken supporters in Congress, Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene, seemed to warn him in a post on X on Monday that dangling pieces of info and not delivering will cause the base to turn on him, writing in part, "Bits of red meat no longer satisfies." Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
A hack on Microsoft SharePoint is affecting multiple federal and state agencies. The global attack here also hit universities, energy companies, and an Asian telecommunications firm, according to the Washington Post. Microsoft patched a security flaw in one version of the software so far. While the government investigates, the Post says tens of thousands of servers are at risk. 25 countries, led by France, signed a joint statement calling for an immediate end to the war in Gaza and demand Israel comply with international humanitarian law. They also want all hostages to be released immediately. The statement says the suffering of civilians in Gaza has reached new depths. The U.S. and Germany did not sign the message. Israel says its forces have acted lawfully and accuses Hamas of stealing aid for its own use. In New York City, a campaign office for Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was vandalized overnight by pro-Palestinian supporters who say AOC abandoned them by voting against a bill that would have cut U.S. aid to Israel's Iron Dome. Among the explicit messages in red paint was a sign that said AOC funds genocide in Gaza. Over the weekend, AOC posted on X an explanation for her vote, writing in part, Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment does nothing to cut off offensive aid to Israel, nor end the flow of U.S. munitions being used in Gaza. What it does do is cut off defensive Iron Dome capacities while allowing the actual bombs killing Palestinians to continue. The measure was voted down 6-422. Meantime, Jackie Launchin McCrae, a self-described Free Palestine protester, was in court today after turning himself in to police this morning. He had been avoiding arrest for a month, wanted for allegedly setting fire to more than 10 police cars in Brooklyn in June. Around 5 million above-ground swimming pools are being recalled because of 9 drowning deaths in the last 2 decades. Federal officials said a compression strap around the pools enabled kids to climb even when the ladders are being removed. The pools were sold at stores like Amazon and Walmart, by Best Buy, Intex, and Polygroup, or Bestway, I should say. Those companies are offering free repair kits. Smartphones are linked to potential or mental health problems in kids under 13, especially girls, according to a new study in the Journal of Human Development and Capabilities. It found higher rates of suicidal thoughts, detachment from reality, and issues with self-worth and emotional regulation. The authors suggest switching to a flip phone or using parental controls if your child already has a phone. Could we see the Redskins name restored in Washington? President Donald Trump gets his way. Could be coming. Yesterday, the commander-in-chief posted on Truth Social that he wants the Washington Commanders to change their name again, writing, "I may put a restriction on them that if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker Washington Commanders, I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be much more valuable and the deal would be more exciting for everyone. Cleveland should do the same with the Cleveland Indians." For more on the fallout in the nation's capital, the National News Desk John Gonzalez is outside of the old home RFK Stadium.
And this news could really create some distractions in Ashburn, Virginia this week, where the Washington Commanders training camp gets underway. Veterans will report tomorrow. Well, on Sunday on Truth Social, President Donald Trump made it very clear he wants this team to revert back to their original name, and he didn't stop there, going one step further, threatening to hold up plans for a new Commander Stadium here at the old RFK site unless the name is changed. Now, the team rebranded as Commanders in 2022 following years of criticism from Native American groups and others who call the original name offensive. Trump claims, quote, massive numbers of Native Americans support the Redskins name, though major tribal organizations have consistently opposed it through the years. A number of fans took to social media Sunday night excited to hear of a possibility that this name could be coming back, but superfan Ted Abella, Tailgate Ted, has a different opinion.
Doesn't he have anything better to do? I'm not trying to get political, but it's kind of hard not to, especially living in this town. But being realistic, we have litigated and gone over this topic hundreds of times now. Who are we as people to tell others that that should not offend you, right? The name is gone. Josh Harris has said it himself that the name Commanders means something now. Let's just move on.
As for the Cleveland Guardians, don't expect a name change there. The team's president told reporters just yesterday a name change is not on his radar. He also said, quote, "We've gotten the opportunity to build the brand as the Guardians over the last 4 years and are excited about the future." Coming up, why concert ticket prices in Nashville are soaring to exorbitant levels and what fans are calling for from lawmakers. We'll be right back. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We are taking the pulse of America, and we start in Washington, where a triple murder suspect is now behind bars.
Renton police worked around the clock, gathering evidence to help them find a gunman who committed a gruesome murder of 3 people inside an apartment.
That night, I see three. They shoot 3 times. boom, boom, boom.
I seen the cops when it was all done.
The victims include a 46-year-old woman, her 9-year-old daughter, and a 28-year-old woman who came over to visit. Investigators call it a case of domestic violence since the suspect was dating the mother.
We do not know at this time what was said, what kind of argument, what happened to prompt such a horrific event.
It's ridiculous. I mean, the people that are actually listening to the music, they can't afford to pay those prices.
State Representative Caleb Hemmer says his phone started ringing after frustrated fans tried to buy pre-sale tickets to a Paul McCartney concert, but found them gone within minutes. Those same tickets already listed on resale ticket sites for outrageous prices. He calls it a predatory practice and says it's slamming fans, ripping off artists, and hurting venues across Tennessee. We also spoke with country music artist Jim Brown, who says scalping is impacting his shows too. Brown, along with other musicians, are calling on lawmakers to step up and shut this down.
Carmen McCain of Finneytown is lacing up her running shoes once again for a good cause. She ran 177 miles last year for MS Run the U.S., an organization helping those suffering from multiple sclerosis and their loved ones. This time, she's adding one more mile to that.
I feel pretty good. I actually feel a lot stronger, definitely in better shape. I trained my weaknesses that I had last year.
McCain's mother was diagnosed with MS 21 years ago. As an avid runner, she saw this as an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of people touched by MS.
And we are rooting for her. Coming up next year, why WNBA players say they are not being paid fairly and how negotiations are going. We'll explain right after this. WNBA players are demanding fair pay as the current contract expires at the end of this season. Over 40 players met with league officials for the first round of negotiations during All-Star Weekend. According to some players, the meeting failed because salary structure and revenue sharing were a major holdup. The WNBA says players want a better share of a new media deal and rising fees. Negotiations have an October deadline. That's going to do it for us for this edition of the National News Desk. I'm Dee Dee Gatton here in Washington. Thanks for watching. See you tonight at 10.